to tell you about one veteran in specific. You may not know much about him. His name is Joshua Chamberlain. He was a school teacher from Maine who, like many of the people in this room, are in the profession of teaching. During Chamberlain's time, America was going through some struggles. Our country was in a turbulent war over the topic of slavery. The president during this time period was Abraham Lincoln, and he was trying to guide America through a devastating disconnect between its own people. This war was called the U.S. Civil War. Over 3 days in 1863, in the little farming town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, one of the most decisive battles in the American Civil War would be fought. In this small town, camps were being built, fires were blazing everywhere. Troops from the Northern Union Army and Southern Confederate Army were marching in. 165,000 soldiers would step out onto the battlefield over a 3-day period. Fighting was gruesome and deadly. Over 50,000 Americans were going to be casualties of war. This would become the deadliest battle in all of American history. Then, one of the smaller battles inside the Battle of Gettysburg happened. The battle was called the Battle of Little Round Top. The Union Army knew that they had to hold the hill of Little Round Top. This hill was so important because if the Confederates got the hill, 80,000 Union men would be defenseless. If this hill was taken over, the Union could lose the battle and even the Civil War. The man that was in charge of holding this hill at all costs was the unassuming schoolteacher from Maine, Joshua Chamberlain. This schoolteacher from Maine decided he was not going to sit down and make some of the most important footprints in American history. In the second day of fighting, the Battle of Round Top had just begun when the Confederates made a bayonet charge up the hill towards Chamberlain's men. But the Confederates' bayonet charge had failed. Then, another bayonet charge by the Confederates, and again, they failed to break the Union lines. On the fourth Confederate charge, Chamberlain was hit dead center in the belt buckle with a bullet, and yet again, his brave troops fought off the attack. He was not seriously hurt and continued to fight. On the fifth charge, the Confederates got to the top of the hill, and the battle raged on both sides. The Americans fought with whatever they could find, rocks, guns, fists, and knives. And somehow, Chamberlain's men pushed the Confederates down the hill again. Chamberlain only had 80 men left to fight with, against over 400 Confederates getting ready to make their final charge to climb the hill. To make matters worse, they were out of bullets. Chamberlain knew he could not retreat. He knew if he did nothing, the Union Army would lose at Gettysburg. Suddenly, Chamberlain yelled, "Fix bayonets!" His men looked at him puzzled. How could 80 men with no bullets charge up 400 men? He told his men, "We can't retreat, but we can also not stay here." He faced his men and explained, "When I am faced with the choice of doing nothing or something, I will always choose to act." Then he ordered a bayonet charge at the Confederates. His men ran down the hill, yelling and cheering to make their numbers seem larger. The Confederates were overwhelmed with surprise. With only 80 men, Chamberlain went storming down the hill. The Confederates were so surprised they threw down the weapons and surrendered. The Confederates thought no man would ever charge with just 80 men. The Confederates thought he must have been reinforced by hundreds of men to call for a charge. Somehow, Chamberlain's beaten-up regiment of 80 men captured over 400 Confederates. Chamberlain chose not to sit down and face defeat. He rose to action and made his footprints in history. Because of the actions of a schoolteacher from Maine, the Union Army would win at the Battle of Gettysburg, and which would lead to the turning point in the winning of the American Civil War. America could have been a very different place today without the actions of the Army veteran Joshua Chamberlain. So we ask ourselves, why is Veterans Day so important to remember? It is because every American veteran chose to take action. They did not sit down. They have fought battles far and wide so we can have our freedom. Veterans have left their footprints in history on the islands of Iwo Jima, in the skies and in the oceans, in the waters of Pearl Harbor, on the deadly beaches of Normandy, the trenches of France in World War I, the jungles of Vietnam, and the deserts and mountains of Iraq and Afghanistan. So when you see a veteran, please thank them for their service because they chose to stand up and take action for the freedom and liberty of all Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Conor. Thank you, Conor, for that inspiring story. Greeting, Boswell. The Bear Brass from the 135th Army Band will be playing American Service Medley. During the playing of medley, please stand up when your bridging medley is being played. This will